Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Patty asks, does doing a multi-format launch, ebook, paperback, audio push more sales? Monica, I want to turn this over to you.
Yeah, we talked about this in one of the episodes, but I think that this question comes from when we were talking about Amazon, and it's not that launching those formats all at once is like a silver bullet or anything. It's having sales on all those formats at once will then make all of them rise essentially in Amazon's algorithms, and where you'll really see it is in the personalized recommendations. So like push notifications, stuff like that. And it kind of makes sense that Amazon will want to push a book that's selling in all formats, or that's or even like if you think about it this way, push a book that is essentially worth more revenue than just an ebook. Like a book that's selling only an ebook is going to be worth less revenue than a book that's selling in like ebook, paperback, and audiobook. So they can push it to more people. They can push it to people who will spend more. So Amazon's going to do that. So yeah, it really, I would say it only works on Amazon though. I mean, the other platforms are not necessarily they don't necessarily push books in the same way.
Can I
Yeah, I don't know.
something on this point real quick, guys?
Sure.
I would say don't discount your direct sales too. I do direct sales of paperbacks, and I make 10 times more on launch day from directly selling signed paperbacks to my readers than I do on any ebook platform, because my ROI is like insane. I can sell them a signed paperback for $25, cost me $4 to ship it to them, cost me $5 to buy it. So I'm making $10 to $15 per sale on a signed paperback, and I'm selling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them on my launch day. So if you don't do direct sales already, that's also a way to make paperbacks and things like that really work for you to have an extra source of income coming in.
Yeah,
Sure.
Steve Piper said that people doing direct, most of them need paperback before they're profitable, which I didn't realize, but that makes me happy because what you just said tells me something we can do to breathe life into this Frankenstein trilogy that is like,
Sure.
what am I doing?
Well, I think too, like that's kind of full circle to why Russell is maybe pushing Kickstarter too, is because that's where you sell paperbacks on Kickstarter and you can charge more. You can do like, you can even go up in price on like special editions or special covers, that type of thing. So, I think that's another, if you don't have your direct sales store set up, that can be a good platform to use as well.
Yeah. All right. This is a podcast question. And it makes me laugh. Working on a podcast, it's got 10 episodes, wondering if they should do heavy editing, cleanup, or be off the cuff.
What we prefer.
So here's our editing strategy on both of the podcasts, because I have a podcast with Monica called Kickstart Your Book Sales, and then we have the Six-Figure Author Experiment. Our philosophy is it's Jim's problem, like because Jim's our editor, like it's Jim's problem, and like probably it's not even his problem because I've gotten 2 comments in the past 4 days about me using like too much, and I'm like, don't listen then. I don't know, like that's that you can, but. I do think that if you're doing this as your main gig, like if you're like, podcast is the format that I want to be the main thing that people experience from me, maybe you want to do more heavy editing. I would refuse flat out to do a podcast if like I had to edit it any more than saying it's Jim's problem.
And Jim can't edit us. He's like, you guys talk a lot. We're like, that's why we have a podcast.
And over each other.
So what is possible? And we're going to lean more towards, I have to say the messy episode that we just launched, I think got way more engagement, and there could be other factors, that had the word launch in the title or whatever, but messy conversations is about it brings people in, it's community building. And, with AI, like the last frontier is your soft skills and building a community. So like lean into that. And I would just, build a following off of, you want to hear this? And Monica was like, call it the Messy Ass Bitches podcast. I was like, yeah, Hot Mess Express. And we went with Mesopode.
You said something really interesting though, because like you train the listener for like what they're going to experience. So like if you and frankly, like we're all three of us pretty well known publishing experts at this point. People will probably tune in to like people will give us a lot of slack, but it's really like, what will you do? Working with Monica for a long time, the thing I think she taught me the most was like, I don't want to do that. I want to hire someone. And I'm like, well, we can't hire someone. Well, I don't know. It's not going to get done. And I was like, you can just do that? And she's like, I don't know. Like, we're going to do it. And like, that is such like a wonderful gift to like be like, oh, well, like, I don't know, don't listen. I don't know, like sign off. I don't know, like don't come. Like if you want to hear Lee, Monica, and Russell talk about book launches, like we are doing it during this time. And like, I don't know, don't come if you can't come. Do come if you can come. Hate us, like us.
Someone asked for something more structured or something. And I was like, buy the course. Like,
right.
This isn't a PowerPoint situation. There's a place and time for PowerPoint. This is not it. And actually, Jim did say that. He's like, don't share your screen with like stuff on it for a long time. That was one thing I didn't realize. And he's like, that affects the experience. So talking heads is actually better than, unless you're going to lean into the PowerPoints. But Alex Hormozy has some really good content. And if you can edit like him, but he pays $20,000 a month to editors. So I don't know, like work up to that. But yeah, with the algorithm, it's like, if I'm going to do a TikTok, can I do 1 million of these TikToks? Like whatever it is, can I do this? And I'm trying to figure that out. What TikTok style can I do 100 a day, and then batch it 1 day a month, 1 day a quarter, whatever. Like you train the algorithm, whatever it is, you just have to do it over and over and over again. If I'm writing a shifter book, can I write 100 of these shifter books? I have written books before and been like, I do not want to write any more of that. It's a dead series. I'm not going to write royal romance. I don't understand it. And whatever, like, but I can do the shifters. So I did more of them. And that's why those are, if I wrote 100 royal romances, I bet I could get it to sell, but I don't want to. So it has to be like, what do you like? That's a great question to ask about doing anything.
The one thing that I've learned about marketing in all these years, above all else, is the best marketing is the marketing you do. Like, doesn't matter if it's like right. It's like, doesn't like it matters that you were consistent way more than it matters whether it's right. Cause like, it literally doesn't matter what you do. 10% of people are going to hate it. 5% are going to love it. And the rest of them are going to not care or miss it or on some level not hear it. So like you have to just pick the stuff you're going to do, even if it's imperfect.
I think too, it's like, it's such a bigger question of like, just liking yourself and accepting yourself for who you are. Like, you're accepting yourself as like, I write shifter romance or whatever. And like, that's what clicks in my brain. And maybe not chasing the trends as much. But yeah, I agree with all of that. I actually thought, Russell, that you were the one who taught me that you could just say no to a bunch of stuff. So
yeah, well, we taught each other. That's good.
Yeah.
One more thing, I think you can make money doing anything. Like you just, again, get that series out. I just heard about a YouTuber and she's an author tuber. She was early to the author tube, whatever. So maybe that helped probably, but she's like, sprint with me. And it's like lo-fi music and her desk and her typing. And apparently these are static, like do it for an hour YouTubes. And I'm like, that's brilliant. And I don't want to do it. Like you can make money doing anything. And that's not something I want to do. Like I'd rather sprint with my writing friends, and I'm not going to record that and put it up. And, I'm going to just meet Russell at 2 p.m. and talk, about everything for an hour and do a podcast. That's what I'm going to do. So just pick something you can do. And then if you do notice things start to work, like, oh, people responded better to these 3 episodes that had the word launch in the title, whatever it is, be like, okay, how do I double down on that? But you don't know even until you publish those 10 episodes.
Yeah, that's the dirty secret about all marketing people is they know what works in a whole, but nothing about what works for you. And like the horrible part about marketing is like I could tell you the 10 things that like will most likely work. Lee, Monica, and I will probably tell you the 10 same things, or at least 8 of the 10 things that will like regularly work. But like the order that we rank those things is going to be wildly different. There's going to be some crazy side thing over here that each of us do that like doesn't work for the other ones that we never would have thought about and would never work. So like you really, it also matters also what kind of podcast that you have as well. Like we have a talking head podcast. Like a lot of it also, which I think people don't do enough, is design what you do based on like what you have access to or like what time you have access to. Like when Lee, Monica and I met for this podcast, it was like I have time to show up, hit record, hit not record, and then make a Jim's problem. Like we don't even like really like I think every once in a while I or you will email me saying I want to do this episode and then we'll do it. But in general, like we just show up at a time and then we end at another time, usually way too long. And then every time I'm like, oh, Jim's gonna get real upset because this is an hour and 20-minute episode. There's no good place to cut. So yeah, like I feel like with it's writing books or whatever it is, like if you like you there is a way to do a first book, even if you've never done a book before, in an excellent manner. You just have to like deal with the constraints. And it was my first book. Like I wrote a middle grade book because like I felt comfortable with dialogue and like structure, but not with prose. With the second one, it was a mystery novel told in blog posts because I was like, okay, cool. Like I understand how to write a good blog post. When it was like doing the podcast, it was like, I just want to get together with people and talk about books or like whatever that thing is. So much of this is like, which tropes can you like, which tropes do you love? Which can you suffer through including? Which are a heck no, are a heck yes. I remember doing this, not to call Amy out, but like we did this with her series. Like we spent many months going like, okay, this series did not as well. This series did a lot better. These people seem to respond to this thing. And like then we designed a series and it like doubled all of her other Kickstarters combined when we did that. And by like taking all of the things she liked and that her audience liked.
So Erica asked, what are your suggestions and tips for a successful book release and launch after 2+ years after the last release? So this is a new book. And I would just build that launch muscle. Can you do everything that you think worked pretty well for the last launch and just add one thing?
That was a really important thing that you taught me. Just like start with a base and add one thing each time you launch. And like, if you do that 10 times, you're going to have a real rockin' book launch after your 10th launch.
Can you test the cover and the blurb? And if you're like, I'm just not going to do that, then don't do it. Can you post on social media? That probably will move the needle less than most other things. So if I had $200, I'd spend what I could on the cover, ask the designer to give me a couple options, and then maybe test that, and then really lean in on my newsletter. Guys, please write a freebie, a couple scenes, or a free book. Russell has a book that is free. It doesn't have to be a novella. It can be a couple scenes, but whatever you have, just throw it in. Front matter, back matter. Hey, free thing, get this, click here, and build that list. And do it for all your books going forward, and do it for your top books, as you can. Be like, right, okay, that sold really well and it doesn't have a freebie in it. Just get a freebie into it and build that newsletter. Because newsletter and writing more books, you can make any amount of money you want doing just those two things. Everything else comes, it's try a new thing. So the new thing I'm doing right now is I hired someone to build me an influencer team, a street team. It's the new thing that I'm doing this summer. And I didn't want to do it, but now I have money to hire someone. So I am going to do it. And I didn't hire a publicist because I've worked with them before and I'm like, whatever. So Jessica is doing a Lee Savino street team, and it is a bit more tightly like, this is my influencer list. And We're going to try it. And if I hate it, I'll cancel it. But right now I don't have to do anything because Jessica does it. So that's my new thing. But I'm still, Stasia's doing the Facebook ads. Ben's doing Facebook ads for the direct store. I'm looking at discrete covers. What Gwen said about the signed copies, I'll consider doing. Maybe hire someone to help me with that. And then newsletter, and then posting a bunch, or having the people who post a bunch, give them the media kit so they can post and make graphics and stuff. And that's it. Like, it sounds like a lot, but I've built it launch over launch over launch. And then I've made enough money so I have people in place. And if the people don't work out, then I fire them and either replace them or don't do it again. And it's just, yeah. So Gwen says my newsletter and influencer teams are major things to lean on. And I don't have an influencer. I have like 5 people on my new influencer team. So really it's newsletter for me. But influencer team, the market has shifted, and it is about, if you're at a certain level, especially in romance, it's about that influencer team. It's crazy. I missed it, but it started in 2020. And the people who were talking about, oh, this is how I hit, like Anna Huang, Elsie Silver, people who are hitting #1 with their romance, they have influencer teams. Sarah Kate, she's like, I sent out 1,000 arcs. I'm like, what? I've been sleeping, but I'll do it now. Like, I'll get to it. And I still have a career without it, but it's like, oh, that's something that's missing in my business. So I'll fill that in. But I already have all the translators. I have people help me upload translations. I just have all these things that I've done. And now it's like, okay, what's the new thing?
Interestingly, if you try one new thing every launch, you also can find one new person to outsource things to every launch. So or expand out the people that you do things with. Monica and I were talking today, and it's like, oh yeah, we have a person to do that thing. I forgot. Because now we have we've built a team over 2 years of working together. All right. Any tips for launching aimed specifically at authors who are KU exclusive? Different from wide authors, best way to leverage KU. I'm just going to add, you're here in KU only with your ebooks. You could do all sorts of things with other kinds of books.
Yeah, I guess your graphics and stuff, mention it's in KU. Make sure you do build that newsletter.
It's more compact too, right? Like you're with a wide launch, it just can happen forever. When it's but KU really is much more focused on the first week, right? Or is that not true anymore?
Yeah, a lot of authors in romance who are doing really well. Either they have a lot of love from TikTok, or they are losing money on ads first few weeks.
There used to be for a while, it was launch 7 books at the beginning of the month, and then that will help your KU reads. Is that a thing still? Do people do that still? I think at last time I looked, someone was doing 13 books in 1 week of the first month. So they would hit their all-star bonus, and that seemed that jump. I don't know where between 1 and 13 books it jumped the shark, but at some point between 1 and 13, you've jumped the shark on this all-star bonus thing.
That's not also all-star bonuses. It's they pick them out of a hat right now. Monica, you tell.
Yeah, that's kind of done because they don't do the author bonus. I think they do it by book now. Though in other countries, I think they are doing the author bonus still. So tells you where Amazon is, seeing its future, I guess. I mean, the biggest thing is chase the rank, right? That's the thing for KU is you have to chase a sales rank, because the more visible you are, the more money you can spend on the launch. If you have a 99-cent omnibus, but you're getting tons of page reads on it, then you can just pour, it doesn't matter that you're not making money on the sales. So it's an environment. It's kind of like San Francisco, or New York. It's there's these cities that you can have a startup in, but that startup doesn't work in any other city because the math and the money doesn't make sense. But KU is like that. It's you can pour $5 a click into a 99-cent book if you have the page reads to back it up, and if it's popular enough. So I don't know. I think if I were going to go into KU, which Russell and I are not we have not been KU for maybe ever for Russell, but for me, I haven't been in KU with a single thing for at least 6 years at this point. Yeah, I would focus on just getting my rank as high as possible through really any means.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to concentrate your spend on that first.
I would concentrate my spend on the first 10
month.
days, probably. Yeah, first 10 days. And then if it's going well, keep going for another, like really go until the page reads are starting to sink. I mean,
Well, are you like thinking about what
which
kind of
most
book you
people can't.
design all differently when you do a KU book? Because I would assume you'd be like, well, you want to hit like the absolute maximum trope or like
Yeah.
number one-edness in the world. Whereas like when you're wide, you can kind of do a lot of like weirder things.
Yeah, I don't think you want to do a weird book. I think you want to do the most, like you want to look at like what's in the top 100 of Amazon. And you know, like I don't know, in fantasy it was like I feel like it was ordinary girl becomes a fairy and is betrothed to the king, or like there was like so many of those. And so it's like if you're doing fantasy, like you should have a book or a series that does that. like
Yes.
like exactly. Or like Hades and Persephone, like if you write dark romance, you should have a Hades and Persephone series,
Yeah,
period. I don't
for
know.
sure.
So I think stuff like that is really valuable in KU. More so, we're wide, I think. I don't know, like a Barnes and Noble reader or an Apple Books reader isn't like, oh, Hades and Persephone is so hot, like I'm searching the store for more Hades and Persephone books. They're looking for like, they're just like, ooh, there's this cool thing called dark romance I've never heard of. Like they're just not like Amazon, like the readers on Amazon are like, I don't know, they're like 7 levels deep on like reading. And the readers everywhere else are like,
Yeah,
cool,
you're
like,
getting a lot
I
of
like dark romance.
like whale readers on Kindle Unlimited. So I would do, Veronica, you talked about like do a 3-week pre-order, and
Oh
I would
yeah.
test ads during the 3-week, $10 a day, make 25 ads, make 5 hooks, 5 images, combine them. And, if you can't get a winner out of that, you really need to look at your blurb and your cover and talk to people like, what are the tropes in my book? Like, help me just put this on the nose. I hired Becca Mysore. She read the first 25,000 words of my newest dark romance. She's like, is this a murder mystery? I'm like, no, it's a romance. She's like, why are they not on the page together every scene? And I was like, because I got really excited about writing the murder mystery. And she's like, okay, what do you want? I'm like, okay, so I have to rewrite that. Yeah, I would spend a lot of time there. And then once you have that going, you can get $10,000 of ad spend out of the book background, the book cover on the book background. So, if it's the pomegranate, it's like, oh, this mock-up of the book with the pomegranate, the same image, big behind it. And you don't have to spend 10 grand in a week, but if you can, like,
Yeah, we have an episode coming out with Nick about this, and he's got a free course on like all these 5x5. But the idea is 5 images, 5 copies, and you just mix and match them until you find one that works. And then like if the one that works, you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. All right, and Tastes Like Pancakes is something I'd like to buy. I wish you were there in 2019 and there was also 100,000 of you. And also I was spending ads so I could find you instead of just relying on my email list. A lot of things I wish about that one.
yeah, but Hades and Persephone wasn't big. When we tried to market it, Hades Persephone, that wasn't big yet. It happened 3 years ago, and now I'm finally doing it late.
Lore Olympus literally just ended like 2 weeks ago. And so like now everyone is in there like, what is my next Hades and Persephone fix too? So now everything's going to launch the last week of August. Yes, I actually have moved all the way back to the middle of August because people keep like following me backwards from September into like earlier in August. So yes, that does happen. Emily is remarkable. I assume that's Emily Kimmelman. We're far back. We're back way. What specifically do you see works well in horror recently out of curiosity? I want to move towards that genre. Oh, I still want to be polite, but it's like 140. So I'm going to say, like, you should not be moving into horror. You should be moving your horror books into a more popular genre because there's like 7 people who read horror. Like, or you should be an aquatic and making the like comic where there's a bigger audience, or like doing an RPG horror thing, or like some other kind of horror. Like, please, like, this is the cap on horror is not the lowest because there's like subgenres and stuff, but like of the top genres, horror is like the least popular of them in books, though it is very popular in movies and RPGs and all sorts of other things. I have no idea why this is. Monica may have some things, but like I would what's working best in horror is to move to fantasy and use horror tropes. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes. But so like if you're doing horror, I would say definitely look at direct sales options, because I think
And
horror does
Kickstarter.
better on Kickstarter. It does better in serialization format. It does better in subscriptions. That's where the horror readers are kind of gathering. I agree. Fantasy or thriller,
But I would say yes. The more they are a smaller community, but they're very devoted to the people. So like I would
Yeah.
do exactly like Kickstarter or direct sales. Here's a good one that I actually have an answer to. Tom asks, how do we assess who we are to readers? Emily K knows who she is and knows what they'll buy her book. As a result, how can we assess ourselves? I'll bet that Emily Kilman made 50 videos and put them all in ads and tested the one that was the most resonant. And then that's probably how she tested which one. I don't know how else you would test who you are to readers in ads than to run ads, but maybe Monica has.
Yeah, I have a thought on it. So Emily Kimmelman, so like I've noticed this about, and we've talked about this. Actually, we're going to talk about this in our upcoming course, but one thing about Emily's books is they're all focused on justice and injustice, right? Like the whole theme. And it's like it's one of the course wounds of like humanity. So I think if you can narrow the theme of your books down to like abandonment, rejection, shame, betrayal, control,
One of the
justice.
Enneagrams.
Yeah,
basically.
one of those. Yeah, it's Enneagram related too. If you can narrow it down to something like that, or the opposite. So like betrayal, devotion, right? Or like shame, honor. Like you look at Game of Thrones example, you look at Jon Snow, it's like his whole story is around shame and honor. That's why people loved him, is because like he was either doing something shameful or he was doing something honorable. And like that was like the whole of him. He wasn't really that complicated of a character. And like every storyline was either like, wow, like Jon Snow was shameful, Jon Snow was honorable. And yeah, I think if you can do that for either your characters or like just your themes in your book, then it's like, so she kind of took like this justice piece and she added like, well, the dog always lives, like that's justice, but the bad guys die.
Right.
That's justice. And so when she does her ads, she talks a lot about injustice in the world. And I just think you can
I worked
kind of
with
figure it out that way.
I worked with Melissa Storm on a project recently, and she does every project. She does the Enneagram of both the two main characters, of whoever the main characters are, and like what their wound is, what their main wound is, and like what they care about most. And like Tom, you are a Forest. I know you are because we've known each other for a long time. So like if you don't know your wound yet that you're writing about, like you should go back to all of the things and like then go read Claire's books about reclaiming your author career and sustainable author career and like figure out which one of those you are and then just lean. I don't think you have a problem with finding what your theme is. I think you are scared to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And like your issue is like you need to 10x the you. And I think you fear 10xing the you. Whereas like, for instance, Lee's book with Renee, the first one, I will never forget the first time that the lead guy sees her Batman shirt and calls her bat tits. Ever. My literal entire life. Like I wake up sometimes chuckling at that. And I don't know why. It like was one moment, but like you could just tell that like that is like peak Renee and either peak Renee and Lee, but it's definitely peak both of them together. And I know because like you have another like bat thing that you talk about all the time. And I don't remember that, but I sure as hell remember bat tits. you're going to eventually run out of times, Tom, that you can ask what the thing is without going deeper in your own thing. Like depth, like going deeper into yourself is like why people respond so well to forests, because like they can like, they radiate all of the things about them, like out into the world. Sorry, that I know Tom for a while, so like
I love that.
all right, how do you guys balance writing, launching, marketing, and family responsibilities? I have no family except for my wife, so it's easier for me. I also I literally will chart every go watch J.A. Huss's Perfect Year. That's my life, basically.
Mm.
One of you guys gonna have to keep it. Lee.
Yeah,
how do you-
Monica, you want? I mean, different.
don't? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. You should go ahead, Lee.
No, that's what I was gonna say. You don't like. You just do your best, and you know, Monica and I were talking before we got on, because when you have a baby, you're just in a different season, and you think you're just gonna be exhausted and vitamin deficient forever, and it really does change quickly. But then you're gonna have another challenge. So I think Renee said something I really love. This is an energy thing or a mental shift, but she's like, I like to fire myself as mom regularly. And I like that because what she's doing is she's clearing all expectations. She's going, I'm firing myself as mom, meaning I'm supposed to show up this way. I'm supposed to clean the whole house every day, whatever. I'm supposed to help my kids put on their shoes. Well, her kids are now in college. So that is all wrong. You have to update it. So I would fire yourself as whatever preconceived thing you think regularly, because it's going to change with littles. As I move 6 figures to 7 figures was about delegating. I talk a lot about that in my class. It's about infrastructure. You could just make a living. Like, you do not need a lot of money. You can make good money and be good and probably be able to balance things a bit more. But there's always going to be a push and pull, and there's always going to be seasons. My mom was really ill earlier in the year. Like, she stayed with us, and it's just a different season. Now she's great. So I'm like, yes. So my office door is closed in a way that might not be other times. But Monica, you have little, so you could probably talk about this for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I won't. I'll just say, like, I have 2 Roombas. I have house cleaners. I have we have somebody who like formats, or doesn't even format our books, just like compiles them and like puts them on different retailers now, even though I obviously know how to do that. I mean, I think like Russell and I, we talk about this a lot. Like, we both came up like you start out coming up, like you have to do everything yourself. So we're really good at doing all the things ourselves. And we've had to, yeah, like fire ourselves every step of the way. And I want to fire myself in like 10 more areas.
Well,
and I know Russell does too.
even when it was uncomfortable, or even when we don't have the money to fire
Mhm.
ourselves, like you just have to make choices because there's a finite number. Like, I have chronic illnesses, so I have that often compete with each other for my attention, and then other things that compete for my attention. And like, yeah, I mean, you just have to, like, you have to be okay either letting it go. What is the thing? Like, let it go, delegate, do. There's like 4 things. There's
Right.
like 4. It's like the
Yeah,
Eisenhower
automate.
box.
Automate, eliminate. But I mean, like, most of the stuff you're just not going to do. I think
Yeah.
just accepting that is like extremely helpful.
I had a big block about Zapier for a long time. And when I went into Zapier, I was like, wait, it's $150 to get like 5,000 tasks. I'm like, 150, like, that's so reasonable to like get hours or days of your life back and get your mental space back. So for me, a lot of it was just like realizing that like maybe $150 a month is worth it. Like, maybe just like paying somebody $600 to ship our books for our last campaign, instead of me taking 2 days to do it and being burned out and bedraggled, is worth it. Even whether it was worth it or not, it's just worth it to keep the mechanism going.
Yeah.
Or just don't do Kickstarter.
Yeah, or don't do it. Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it at this point. Like
Sure.
other things are more interesting to me. So
Sure.
But they also, you know, with hiring, like something we've kind of accepted is like 70% of people don't really work. Either your process doesn't work or like the person doesn't work out, and it's fine. Like, that's what we learned is we just let them go. They go their way, we go ours.
I also learned you've got to pay money. Like not like everyone is like, how do you pay $5 for an assistant? And we're like,
How do I pay like $50 for somebody to
pay
do it right?
$50 for somebody. Yeah, exactly.
That's a harder question.
start delegating things that are easy to delegate. So cleaning your house, that is easy to delegate. Do it on a trial basis too. You can hire people on trial basis. Hey, I want you to come one time for a deep clean. Hey, I want you to help me with this launch one time. Hey, sitters, babysitters, pet walkers, grocery store service, DoorDash, whatever it is for you. There are things that are really easy to delegate, and those are typically on the personal side. And that frees up not just time, it frees up mental energy, which is the most precious thing you have.
Yeah.
And like if you have a baby right now, it's just you're just in it. Like, but also you chose, I hope you chose to have the baby and you want it, you want to be in it and you're willing to do it, knowing that some years down the road, they're going to hate you and close the door to their room and never want to speak to you. And that's when you're going to get most of your writing done, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's going to change. And also you have to assess what you need. And the other thing about like fire yourself mentally, really what that's doing is destroy all of society's preconceived notions about shit. Because I had to do that so early on. I was raised in a religious community and I heard women say, she has a nanny, she has daycare. Or she sends her kids to public school. I was homeschooled part of the time. And they would say things like, I could never let anyone else raise their kids. They never said that about the dad who was off at work 9 to 5. I don't know why. I never logically put it together. I was like, he would never say someone else is raising my kids. No one would think that of him. But if a woman gets a nanny, they think that of her. So that was just bullshit. And I had to get rid of that before I could send my kids to daycare. Meanwhile, my husband's like, yeah, my mom was pretty much the breadwinner. So of course we went to daycare or whatever.
Right.
But
all right. Speaking of, we're supposed to end at 2. There's a couple of questions left. I'm happy to stay on. I know Monica, like usually is like 2 is the end. I'm done. So Monica, if you have any final things to say before you get out of here, I will stay on and answer the rest of these. And I think
me too. I can. My husband took the kids away, so I'm good.
Yeah, no, I mean, this has been great. I appreciate coming on here, and it's always fun to talk about publishing, and especially with 2 really smart people and lots of smart people in the audience too. So thanks for having me.
Yes, and make sure to check out our Kickstarter book sales podcast for a lot more with Monica and our books.
See, Monica has work-life balance because she has littles running around that force her to have work-life balance.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you saying
true.
that was like when I got chronic illnesses, I just had to have better work-life balance because like I literally had like 4 hours a day that I could do things. And you're like, well, I don't know, like I don't know what to do with the other 20 hours of the day, but like I'm to tell you what I'm not doing. I'm not writing, I'm not doing work. The one thing that I think Monica and I got really good at is saying, is that really in our zone of genius though? Like it's like writing marketing emails and like planning marketing campaigns and writing books are like in our zone of genius. But even like, I mean, courses are not in my zone of genius. And like, I've been questioning like, well, do I want to do another course? Like, it's not the thing, like, it's not like, I think the courses that we've got are really good. Like they're very comprehensive. But like Amy Porterfield knows how to write a course you want to go through. Whereas like Russell Nolte knows how to make a course that is comprehensive that like you suffer through to get the information. Whereas like our books that we write are like, I think the best books in the entire industry about like put together. Monica has a system, like I have a system, like I do feel that way. We should be writing books about things or like Substacks about things, or like even getting this together about things because people like them. I stopped back and thought the other day, it's like, no one has literally ever asked me for a course. Not in like 5 years. Like no one's asked me. They've asked me for information, but they've never said, Russell, make this a course. I've just said, well, the way to monetize this the most is with a course, but is it the way to monetize it best? Is it the way to give the best? So like all of those things when you're thinking about like, is this really my zone of genius? And many things that you think are your zone of genius are actually not. You'll learn like as you delegate away things, it's like no, like there's 3 things, there may be 4 things that are in my zone of genius, like depending on fiction and nonfiction. So cool. All right, Lee.
Yeah, not just is it a yes, but is it a hell yes is where I'm at.
Do I say bye to Monica? You leaving it? Bye, Monica. I want to say bye.
Bye. See you
All
later.
right. All right. Lee, do you think it matters with a trilogy when books 2 and 3 are released? Like if waiting more than a month for book 2 and then book 3 turning off readers as opposed to if they can find the whole trilogy if all 3 are released immediately?
Yeah, so I really think from watching other people launch and from the trilogy launches I've done, spacing them out a month or 2 is good, is fine. There will be people who do not buy until the whole trilogy is out, which is why I feel like I haven't released this trilogy yet. It's like, okay, now that all 3 books are out, now it's a release event. And we're able to push 3 books and get the sell through like all there. So we launched book 1 medium. We launched book 2, not at all like soft, meaning we sent a few emails. That's it. No new ads, no ads really. We kept ads to book 1. And now June, we are launching all 3. And what's crazy is we're doing a 4th like extra novella. And once that's out, I think it'll be another marketing event. You do not have to do a 4th thing for a trilogy because then it's a quartet, not a trilogy, but
Right.
whatever. We wrapped things up, whatever. Anyway, I would space it apart a few months, whether you're wide or an Amazon. I think there's a benefit to at least doing a few weeks, 6 to 8 weeks between.
Mhm.
And sometimes you're just writing book 3 and you're like, okay, it's coming 6 months from now. I would not be worried if it's longer. Like look at Trad. They're releasing, if you're R.R. Martin, you release once a decade. If you were the Onyx Storm Lady, the 4th Wing, it's once a year. And those are big releases, but they're a year apart. It's fine.
I do think that there is something if you're younger in your career that like you may not want to release things until they're all out because people will be like, well, when is the rest of the series going to get out? Like the thing that a traditional publisher has is like, well, they have released a book. Simon & Schuster has releases 2,000 books a year. So like they release book 1, they're probably going to release book 2 and 3. But like even then they're taking a loss on book 1. I think that once you get established, like there's the reason that Brandon Sanderson is the preeminent writer in fantasy is that Patrick Rothfuss and J.R.R. Martin shat the bed. Like they both didn't release their thing and he did. And he just kept releasing. Not only that, but like Robert Jordan died. And so it's like, not only did he finished this very, very cherished trilogy, but he just kept, yep, it's done. It's done. And in that way, it's like, well, even when he did his Kickstarter, it's like, these 4 books are done. They're going to come out because I'm Brandon Sanderson. And like, that's just my reputation. And like, I know, like my wife has said, like, I'm George R. Martin. I'm not, the whole series is out or I'm not doing more. And like, she loves she loves Song of Ice and Fire. But like, I do think that like having a reputation for finishing is like, I don't think it plays as much of a role as I might think that it plays, but I do think it plays a role in like, whether you can get away with releasing a first book without 2 and 3 out.
Yeah, I would definitely, if you can, put them up on pre-order so people know they're coming and they're there. And when in doubt, just die and have Brandon Sanderson finish your series. I think that's what's going to happen to R.R. Martin. Okay, like that.
Yeah.
I'll put money on that. And Robert Jordan wrote like 15 books or 12 or some crazy amount. I dropped out after like 8.
Yeah, there's no way that it would have been 14 books. He would have had to be 20 books because they're both grasslands, and like that's a grassland thing. They just want the
new people. I'm like, the only plot skill you have is introducing a new plot.
Which is like one of the things that's so interesting about Brandon Sanderson, because he's like, he actually finished an unfinishable thing. Like he has that like ability. He has that like that even 20 years ago, he had that like reputation. It's like, it's never going to get done. Wheel of Time. And then suddenly it's like, wow, it's done. And this guy finished it and I like it. And kind of they're the best 3 books in this series, at least for like many years. So like, yeah.
Who's coming to New Orleans?
Yeah, I know. Y'all should be there. We're going to talk about all of this. Yay, Amy.
Amy, yay. We'll meet in person again if I hadn't met you.
If you don't know what we're talking about, we have a conference in New Orleans. Monica and I. Lee was our what's the opposite of a keynote when like it's the end? Closing speaker? I mean, she was basically our keynote speaker. Is a keynote at the end? I don't even know. I always think a keynote's at the beginning, but like she was our she and Renee were our like special closing remarks speakers. And
we
like
both Jinx.
Yeah. And we're gonna do it. They're gonna come back and hang out with us again. There's a conference, there's a mastermind. It's gonna be a fun time. It's in New Orleans. Food's good, so at least.
It's New Orleans. Come write a vampire novel.
Yes, come on. We did the Underworld tour last time we were there, and it was great.
Was it good?
Was great but it was not actually. I thought they were like the mythology is that the 9 gates of the underworld are in New Orleans, and there's 9 different voodoo god or goddess is guarding each of the gates. I thought we were going to get a thing that like taught us what the like we were going to go to each gate, but like we ended up just getting a really cool history of New Orleans. So like we didn't go to any of the cemeteries though. The gates are in cemeteries. So like if we're going to my wife and I decided we're going to do Day of the Dead this year in Mexico, in Oaxaca, which is like the best place apparently to see it. So like that's my kink is karma and also death mythology. So I'm listening to a lot of Chappelle Roan, and specifically my kink is karma on repeat a lot. All right. Cool. Well, on that note, any final words?
Thank you for listening to the podcast and being here.
Yes.
Awesome.
We should say like there's a thing we're supposed to do. We didn't do it at the beginning. What do you have anything you want to pitch? Do you have anything you want to pitch, Leigh?
So it's a conference, and then I'm going to do a book marketing boot camp, dark romance edition in August. I eventually probably will do one for paranormal sci-fi or something, or spicy romance. And I will release a generic version of the book marketing boot camp. But I'm running it live with dark romance peeps this August. It'll be the first one. And I'm really excited. I don't know anyone here. I know Nanette is plugged into the dark romance community. So you might tell people, but they probably already know. And I'll just be announcing that in my group. Come join Millionaire Author Mastermind.
Yep.
Which is not just dark romance people, it's everybody.
Yeah, it's really fun. I joined it the other day because I got my Facebook account back. So I was like, I have a public Facebook account, so I can.
Okay. I was like, wait, Cartoon Russell and Real Russell. Yes. I don't know.
No, that friend request I sent you is real. It's from my real profile, not my burner profile. For me, I hope you listen to the 6-Figure Author Experiment. You probably do if you listen, but like if you're here still, but like it's at 6figureauthorexperiment.com. We talk a lot about this launch and all of the future launches. We have really cool episodes coming up with, I think we're going to do another episode with Mike at Written Word Media. We have one coming up with Steve Piper. We're going to talk more about book launches. Now that I have a baseline, you can hear just how bad this launch went for me. So you could be like, look, like Russell's doing this in public and he had 9 pre-orders. 9.
If you didn't lose your account, you have the rest of your life or book's life.
Absolutely.
Or get Brandon Sanderson to
Yes, that would be great. Oh man, that would be great. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you in New Orleans. Hopefully we'll see you on the interwebs. I'll see you on the author stack too. And have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to 6figureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.